This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd DeWalt, and it's my job to help you grow your leadership skills, grow your business, grow your income. So if that sounds good to you, let's go. Today I want to talk about several things. One, we're going to talk about scheduling projects. I'm also going to give you some resources that will help you improve your cash flow, help you improve your crew's productivity, if you're into that sort of thing. And then we're going to talk about some of the secrets that successful contractors use to grow their business. So I'm going to drop a whole bunch of stuff on you today. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. First of all, I want to read a couple of podcast reviews. I always appreciate the reviews that come in over the interwebs. These are on iTunes. This is from Golf Daddy 222. Golf Daddy 222 says, Todd does a great job bringing in industry experts on to share insight, strategy, and relevant news and topics. Keep it up, Todd. Thank you. I intend to do that. This one is from MCC Inc. They said, thank you for putting this podcast out. Excellent info. The more I listen, the better job I do implementing the lessons. And then the last one I'll read is from 21P. This podcast was so simple, but so many contractors work the hard way and still come up short. Love it. And that was talking about the Left to Right Thinking podcast. You can check that out, Left to Right. That is episode number 65. Episode 65. Think right to left to drive revenue, deliver projects, and do just about anything you want. Check that out. So I would appreciate if you like the podcast, you get value out of it. Hey, if you could leave a review, that'd be awesome. If you need some help on how to do that on iTunes, I believe I've got a page on my website at constructionleadingedge.com/iTunes review. It'll walk you through that process. But hey, you're a smart individual. You could probably figure it out on your own. So let's get started. Let me tell you about, it was 20 plus years ago. I was sitting in a classroom at the University of Kentucky, there in Lexington, Kentucky, in an engineering class with about 30 or 40 other aspiring engineers. And the professor, Dr. Tim Wu, stood in front of the class, put his hand on his hip, and said, I'm not going to try to imitate his accent. He had a pretty thick accent, but he said, you guys are not that smart. You guys are not that smart. You are not that creative. You're not doctors. Your job is to find the right formula and turn the crank. He said that over and over and over and over and over 2 semesters that I had him. Find the right formula, turn the crank. Find the right formula, turn the crank. And that really helped me because until I grasped the Dr. Wu philosophy of find the right formula, turn the crank, whenever I ran into a problem, I would try to get creative and try to figure stuff out on my own and grasp at these unrelated principles and concepts and just try to be creative. And then he made it really simple. Find the right formula, turn the crank. Because people had been working on these problems for hundreds of years. People had done experiments. People had done studies. People way smarter than me. People with PhDs who studied mathematics and engineering. They figured all this stuff out. So I didn't have to. And they boiled it down to a formula. Do this, do this, do this. Recognize the kind of problem you're facing first. Find the right formula. Turn the crank. So if you're looking for the right formula to solve some of your problems, I'm going to share some resources with you here over the next few minutes. So the first thing I want to talk about is this idea that we have to figure everything out on our own. And some of you probably think, you know what, I'm a smart guy, I'm a smart gal, I can figure it out on my own. Whether it's cash flow, how to grow your business, how to make your crews more productive, how to systematize your business. You may be thinking, well, it's better if I figure it out on my own. And yeah, you absolutely can. You can absolutely figure it out. If you want to learn how to sell better, then you could absolutely figure it out on your own. But like my friend Andy Boyd said on a previous podcast, he was talking about how he hired a coach to help him grow his sales business. He said, yeah, I probably could have figured it out on my own, like in 2 years. But by hiring a coach who had a formula, I was able to do it a lot faster. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can't afford to figure out stuff on your own. You can't afford to take the time to figure stuff out on your own. Let me show you an example. Let's say that you could spend 8 hours bidding on a project. Spend all day doing estimating, put together your bid, and that estimate would get you a contract that would yield $8,000 in profit. That means that those 8 hours you spent estimating, bidding that job, are worth $1,000 an hour. Similarly, let's say you could spend 4 hours one afternoon planning your projects for the next couple of weeks, and you could come up with ways to make your crews more efficient, to find problems, find ways to sequence the work that would save you $4,000 in labor and material costs. That means that those 4 hours you spent that afternoon planning are worth $1,000 an hour. So you need to think about how valuable your time is as a business owner. You could be making $1,000 an hour bidding projects. You could be making $1,000 an hour planning your work. You could be making $1,000 an hour training your people, hiring people, growing your business. That's the baseline. You need to stop thinking, well, I could do it myself instead of paying somebody $20 an hour or $50 an hour or paying $500 an hour, whatever it is. You need to think of $1,000 an hour as a baseline. And there could be things you do that are worth more than $1,000 an hour. So when you think about finding the right formula that somebody has already created, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, when you subcontract, you are essentially paying somebody who's already figured that out. You don't want to have to go buy all the equipment, buy all the tools, train your people, get the licenses necessary. You're outsourcing that to somebody who's already done it. They've already figured it out, right? It's the same reason you hire somebody to do your tax prep. Could you do your own tax prep? Yeah, you could go to college, you could get a finance degree, you could become a CPA, you could do that on your own. But you outsource it to somebody who's already got the training, somebody who already has the formula. Same reason you go to a doctor when you're sick. You could probably figure it out on your own. The same reason you go to a lawyer when you've got a contract problem. Yeah, you could probably figure it out on your own. But you don't want to. You can't afford to. You've got other things you need to be doing. So the first area I want to talk about is scheduling your projects. The reality is there are just a lot of people who don't schedule their projects. The big projects typically have a schedule. Most small projects don't have a project schedule. If it's a 2-week project or a 2-month project or a 2-year project, you've got to have a schedule. Otherwise, you're missing the opportunity. One of the formulas for successfully executing projects is you've got to have a schedule. You've got to be able to understand how to schedule your projects, especially if you have multiple projects going on simultaneously. You need to have the ability to look at those projects, how they connect with each other. What are the relationships between when one project or one phase of one project ends and its effect on a phase of another project? You need to be able to link those together, and your ability to schedule those projects is like a superpower, okay? You've got to be able to do that. So many people just take it day by day, do the best they can, and it just doesn't work. There is a better way. There's a formula that will allow you to create a project schedule using Microsoft Project. For example, yeah, it's going to cost something, but to think about that initial investment, you could pay, I don't even know how much Microsoft Project is, but whatever it is, you could pay for it with avoiding one mistake or one lost day if you have a business of any size. So it is an extremely valuable investment. One of the biggest resources you're managing if you're in construction is time. And time is the only non-renewable resource you've got. And your ability to schedule your projects will give you the power to master time and use it most wisely. So you need to be able to schedule multiple projects. You need to be able to create a schedule that gives you the ability to see the effect of delays. If you have weather delays, owner changes, what's a delayed decision by an owner going to do to your overall project? What is a delay by the general contractor or another trade going to do to your project schedule? You need to be able to do that. So I highly recommend that you learn how to use Microsoft Project to create project schedules. And because it's so important, I've put together a free course. I want to get into your hands on how to create construction schedules using Microsoft Project. You'll be able to watch this video that I've put together. I've also got some other resources, a step-by-step process that I'll show you. You'll be able to essentially look over my shoulder and watch my screen as I create a schedule in Microsoft Project. It'll take about an hour, but when you're done, you'll not only know how to use Microsoft Project, but you'll pick up a few tips along the way that will help you build in lead times for fabrication and shop drawings and materials and things like that. You'll pick up a few tips as well. So if you want to get your free course on how to use Microsoft Project, just go to constructionleadingedge.com/schedule, and you can put your information in there. I'm going to give you the DVD, and all you got to do is pay a couple of bucks for shipping, and you will be off to the races. Okay, the next area I want to talk about that so many contractors deal with, too many contractors deal with and struggle with, is cash flow. Cash flow is a constant problem for so many people that I talk to. And here's the deal. You don't have to figure it out on your own. All you got to do is listen to Dr. Wu, find the right formula, and turn the crank. So the first thing you need to understand if you want to solve your cash flow problems is that your cash flow problems aren't really problems, okay? The fact that your cash flow is tight is a symptom of several underlying problems. You're dealing with the symptoms. And the example I use is a few years ago, I started having pain in my arm, and the pain was like halfway between my elbow and my shoulder, so I went to a chiropractor, and they said, well, the problem's not in the joint, it's down here, it must be a muscle problem or a nerve problem. And the reality was, when I went to see an orthopedic surgeon, my problem was in my shoulder joint, and where I was feeling the pain was referred pain. It was a symptom. I felt the symptom in an area that was different than where the problem actually was. So if I had addressed the symptoms, which I tried and it didn't work, not surprisingly, didn't do any good. But when I went to the root problem, then it solved my problem. It wasn't easy. Just like solving cash flow, you got to get to the root cause of the problem and not deal with the symptoms. So a couple of things that you've got to deal with if you're dealing with cash flow. Here are a couple of underlying problems where you need to attack. One is crew productivity. The reality is if your crews aren't putting work in place fast enough, turning days into dollars at the right rate, it's going to cause problems with your cash flow. I want to come back to that one and give you a few tips. A couple of other areas you need to look at would be ticket starvation. I call it ticket starvation. You could call it unintentional charity, but it's basically doing work for free. If you're doing work for free, you can imagine that's causing big problems. And there's a formula for making sure that you get paid for all the work that you do. Next is invoice gymnastics. If you're doing commercial work and you're a subcontractor especially, you got to have your invoice gymnastics down to a science. You've got to have a formula for when you prepare your pay request, when you submit it in, when you get your lien waivers in, to make sure that it goes through all the hoops that it has to jump through so you get paid quickly. I talk to so many people who say they're getting strung out 60, 90 days. And in a lot of cases, your client or your general contractor would be more than willing to pay you in a timely manner, but you're not getting your invoices in on time. You're not getting your change orders in on time. So you've got to get your invoice gymnastics down. And then another big area is what I call opportunity cost. And I touched on that a few minutes ago. An example of opportunity cost is when you could be doing something that would make $1,000 an hour, like planning your work or bidding on projects, but you're spending in that time doing something less valuable. For example, if you're keying in your own invoices and you could outsource that for $100 an hour and spend your time making $1,000 an hour, then every hour that you're keying in invoices and not doing estimates, you're getting hit with a $900 an hour opportunity cost. So when you think of it that way, can you really afford to do your own bookkeeping? Probably not. So opportunity cost is a big one. So let's go back to one problem area that causes cash flow symptoms, and it's crew productivity. So I'm going to give you 2 tips that you can put to work right now that will help boost crew productivity which will result in better cash flow. Does that sound good? You want better cash flow, better crew productivity, right? Okay. So two things. The first one, they're both related to your materials, all right? The first strategy is have a plan of where materials will land when they show up on the job site. I see this all the time. Big projects, little projects, especially tight projects. Materials show up and then somebody says, well, I don't know where it's supposed to go. Let's just offload it here. And a load of drywall comes in, gets offloaded on the first floor, and then a load of conduit comes in and it gets offloaded on the first floor, and then there's not a plan, so materials just get moved around. And you know what happens whenever material gets double-handled, right? It gets damaged. And you're paying somebody to move that stuff around. You're paying to touch it twice. This is all easily avoidable by having a plan for your job site. Where will materials go? So before you even hit the ground, have a staging plan. If you have a job site trailer, where's the trailer going to go? Where are the porta-johns going to go? Where will the topsoil get stockpiled if there's excavation involved? Where am I going to stage my equipment? Where will the steel get laid out? Where will the rebar get laid out? Where are the concrete trucks going to wash out? If you'll do that, if you'll have a plan, sequence, think through the sequence in your mind, have a job site plan, it will dramatically improve productivity. Because if you can imagine, if you land the rebar 300 yards away from the hole where the footers are going to be poured, then every piece of rebar has to be carried by hand or with a lull or something. So why not land it down in the hole? You may have to wait a little bit. Think, when should this material be delivered? Should it be delivered 2 months early and laid off to the side so it has to be double handled? Hey, why not just have it delivered after the excavation is done? So have a plan for your materials, when they will be delivered, when you want them delivered, and where you want them to go. That will dramatically improve crew productivity. The other thing that will help crew productivity is related to a study that was done several years ago on crew productivity. And somebody studied this issue of why is construction productivity low, and they interviewed and surveyed a bunch of people, like 250 construction project managers and superintendents, and the number one productivity killer was the lack of material. It sounds crazy, but I've seen it over and over. Material gets delivered to the wrong job site. Parts and pieces get lost. Long lead times. Somebody forgot to order. Just the lack of material. Because if you don't have the material, you can't put it in place. You can't do your work. Therefore, you can't be productive. So the answer to that, the right formula to solving the lack of material problem is to have a material procurement schedule. Schedule when that material will show up. Somebody should be tracking that material. Somebody should be establishing the delivery date. I need my air handling units to hit the ground on this date, then work backwards from there. If it takes 2 days to ship them to the job site, then they need to be shipped 2 days before. Somebody needs to be tracking that. Don't just wait until the day you hope it's going to show up and hope for the best. And then don't just let somebody else determine when this stuff's going to show up on your job site. That goes back to the job site plan. You determine. If you're in charge of the job site, you determine when you want this stuff to show up. Don't just let somebody ship stuff to you and then you have to work around it or double handle it. Okay, so you get to decide when that stuff shows up. Somebody's going to decide what your job site's going to look like. Somebody's going to decide how efficient your job site is. It might as well be you. Don't let some trucking company or a manufacturer determine that. It's much better for that stuff to sit in their yard or in their warehouse than to sit on your job site. So, two things that'll help your crew productivity that will result in improved cash flow. One is plan your job site. Regardless of how big, how small, how crowded, how open it is, have a plan for your job site. Plan your space, and then have a procurement schedule, especially for long lead items. You determine when that stuff should be arriving at the job site, figure out the ship dates, and then drive it to conclusion, checking in, hey, just confirming these dates, making sure that your light fixtures, your air handling units, your steel, your rebar, whatever it is, gets shipped to the job site when you want it to be there. Now, if you want some more tips for cash flow, if you want the formula for improving your cash flow, if you want a proven formula for improving crew productivity, then right now you can get that for free. All right, I'm giving away what I call the cash flow solution and my crew productivity booster, where you're going to get several more strategies for improving your crew productivity, and you're also going to learn several strategies for improving your cash flow, addressing those underlying problem areas that are resulting in your cash flow symptoms. Right now, you can get the cash flow solution and the crew productivity booster for free when you sign up for the Construction Business Accelerator Mastermind group. This is a group exclusively made up of construction business owners, and it's a mastermind group. It's a place where you can get the support, the information, the accountability you need to solve your problems, get to the next level. Again, if you're looking for a formula, then you're listening to this podcast, you're hearing my formula, but imagine if you could be part of a group of other construction business owners, and you've got a problem, you've got a question, and you could either try to figure it out on your own, or imagine if you could go somewhere, type your question in to an online group, and then get answers from people all over the country in all different industries. An employee problem, a question on how to sell. If you sell to general contractors, what if you could talk to several general contractors and say, hey, what do you think about this? And get feedback quickly without having to figure it out on your own. So if you are interested in that, if you want to get the cash flow solution course, if you want to get my crew productivity booster course, and you want to be part of a mastermind group of other construction business owners, right now you can get the booster and the cash flow solution free when you join the Construction Business Accelerator Mastermind group. You can find out more about that by going to constructionleadingedge.com/group. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is how do the big successful contractors grow their business? Have you ever wondered that? Well, I'm here to tell you there's a formula, okay? I've been in this business for over 20 years. I've worked inside of large contractors. I've had large contractors work for me. I've seen how billion-dollar contractors do it. I've seen how $500 million contractors, how $5 million contractors, and $500,000 contractors. You may be wondering, is there a secret? What are the secrets to growing a business? Well, the secret is that they have a formula that they follow. It's not magic. It's not underhanded. It's not crooked. There's a formula that they follow. They found the right formula, and they turn the crank. Now, let me ask you this. When you think about what it would take to grow your business, let's say grow your revenue 27% next month, what do you think that would take? You may think that, like a lot of people, your typical responses would be, well, I need to hire more people. I need to find more customers. Well, the reality is that adding more customers and more employees could be a bad idea for you. You may think, well, there's like 17 things that I've got to fix all at once. I've got to fix productivity. I've got to get my paperwork in order. I've got to get more fuel-efficient trucks. I've got to do 17 things, and they're all equally important. You may think that you've got this overwhelming number of things that you have to solve all at once. Well, the reality is that there's one lead domino that you should focus on if you want to boost your revenue 27%. There's one thing that you need to focus on first. It's going to solve a lot of your other problems in the process. I've put together a webinar. All right, I'm doing a free live webinar for construction business owners that'll show you how to boost your revenue 27% next month without hiring more employees and without chasing down new customers. Because those are the two biggest misconceptions contractors have. They think, well, to grow my business, I've got to hire more people and I have to find more customers. No, you don't. One of the secrets is you don't need to hire more customers. Another secret is that you don't need to hire more people. So I'm doing a free webinar for construction business owners on how to boost your revenue 27% without finding more customers and without finding more employees. So you're going to want to sign up right now to secure your spot. Here's what you're going to learn in this free webinar for construction business owners. What are the strategies that the big contractors use that you don't know about? All right. How do the big contractors grow their revenue without hiring more people? Would you like to know that? You're going to pick up some more strategies you can use to boost your crew productivity. You're going to learn about that unintentional charity that I talked about and how a lot of contractors are doing work for free and they don't even know it. You're going to learn about a hidden cost that doesn't show up on any invoice, doesn't show up on a bank statement, but it's probably killing your bottom line. You're also going to learn the 2-word question you need to be asking all of your customers that could give you a 2% bump on every contract. All right. So if you want to drive revenue up, you want to give your revenue a hike, if you want to finish more projects and every project on time, then I'm here to tell you there's a different way of thinking. When you sign up for this webinar and you show up for this webinar, you're going to learn how the big companies think. You're going to learn how they operate. That is the opposite of how most small contractors operate, and it practically guarantees your success. So if you own a construction business, then this webinar could be the game changer that you've been looking for. All right. You're going to learn how to boost your revenue 27% next month without finding more employees and without chasing down new customers. So to go secure your spot, you're going to want to go to constructionleadingedge.com/boost. BOOST, constructionleadingedge.com/boost. There are only 100 spots available for this live free webinar, so go there right now, secure your spot, get registered, constructionleadingedge.com/boost. You're going to learn how you can boost your revenue 27% next month without the things that are holding you back, more employees, more customers. Does that sound good? All right, so to recap, go get your free scheduling course if you want to learn how to harness the power of Microsoft Project to drive your schedules. You can do that at constructionleadingedge.com/schedule. If you want to join the Mastermind group of other construction business owners, you want to get your hands on the Cash Flow Solution course and the Crew Productivity Booster for free, you can do that right now when you join the Construction Business Accelerator Mastermind group over at constructionleadingedge.com/group, and make sure to go get your spot reserved for the free webinar for construction business owners over at constructionleadingedge.com/boost. That's all I have for you today. If you need any information, there are probably links on your podcast player. I know if you're listening to this in iTunes, open up the podcast player. There are notes. The links will be in there. Or if you don't remember anything else and you want some of these resources, there's something that you need, send me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com. I will put you in touch with what you need because I want to help you guys out. Hope this has been helpful. I look forward to seeing you in the Construction Business Accelerator Mastermind group, which if you're thinking about starting a construction business or if you have started it, I can't imagine a better thing for you to do than join this group to help you get up the learning curve. And if you want to boost your revenue and grow your business, I can't imagine a better thing for you to do than to get in on this free webinar that I just talked about. That's all I've got for you. You know where to reach me. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time.